All right, everyone. It's Craig coming to another podcast here, the Southern Hemisphere's best and only dedicated Newcastle United podcast. I'm joined myself with Jack, who's down in Brisbane, and we've got a guest on the show today. How are we doing, Tommy?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me along. Nice to be here.
No problem. And Jack, yourself?
I'm champion. I'm sporting my Eddie Howe Hawaiian shirt for the first time, which I'm very pleased about. I've actually had a day off work today, midweek, which was good. So I went for a little walk around Brisbane. I've got people who listen to this know that I've got an almost 2-year-old. So time with my wife is kind of few and far between these days. So I had to book a day off work midweek. It was raining when I started the walk in Brisbane, and then it got sunny, and I've burned my head.
Oh wow!
So, there we go. I know you need to wear sun cream even in the rain here, I think, just in case.
That Aussie life, it'll get you. So, Tommy, if you don't mind, just give a little bit of introduction, who you are and what you do. That'd be fantastic, please.
Sure. Before that, I thought I was wearing a loud shirt when I came on, but I've been outdone.
You've been outdone by King Eddie.
Yes, I'm Tommy Silver. I'm based in Melbourne currently, from Sydney originally. I've been part of Oz Spurs, which is our supporters club in Australia, for about 20 years or so, since I did the website. And through that, kind of got obsessed with Tottenham and, just crazy about them. Really watch every game. It's been a bit rough over the last few years, but feels like we might be starting our comeback. So, thanks for having me along.
How did you get into supporting Spurs then? Was it just through starting doing the website? You've got no connection to Tottenham or?
So it's through my dad, who was born in Australia but grew up over in London. So I'm not exactly sure why he supported Spurs, but yeah, connection with his dad. And my dad was on the mailing list. This was back in like the late 90s when the internet was very, very new. He was on the mailing list for the supporters club and said, why don't we go along and meet them? And he took me along, and just that atmosphere of, as a 14-year-old or 13-year-old at that point, English guys in the pub talking about football. It was fun, basically, for a young Aussie kid.
Yeah, and then you started doing the website, you said, for the Oz Spurs.
That's right, yeah. So I'm a web developer, basically. That's what I do for a living now, but it all started with the Oz Spurs website, as I say, when I was 13, 14.
So you must have been doing that for a number of years now. Was it 13 years? Yeah.
I'm 34 now, so yeah.
34.
Yeah.
You're looking good for 34.
It's the 20th year. It's crazy. It's gone quickly.
Wow, that's impressive, man. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
So, if you couldn't tell already, this is for the Tottenham Hotspur versus Newcastle United preview, which is for this weekend. It is down at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is a 4:30 afternoon kickoff on Sunday for those back home in the UK. And it is a glorious 1:30 a.m. Monday morning kickoff for us here in Queensland. And wherever else you're going to be watching the world, it's going to be one of those games where you're thinking, do I really want to get out of bed for? Because I think it is going to be one of those games. And it's going to be a tough one. It always is down there. And since the days of 3 Point Lane, moving to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, things have been a little bit rough down there for Tommy and his team. But I was going to touch a little bit on how the season's progressed for you. So obviously you started the season with Nuno Santo, and he didn't last that long. And to be honest, from what I can gauge, he wasn't the first, second, or third choice appointment by the board. And how was he well established with the fans? Was his connection good? And did you see his dismissal as untimely and he should have been given a little bit longer?
I think you've been polite saying he wasn't first, second, or third choice. I think he wasn't fifth, sixth, or seventh either. It was pretty low down the list. So I think there was an acceptance from Spurs fans that after what we went through with Pochettino and then the absolute crap with Mourinho, it felt like we couldn't do any better than him. It felt inevitable that we were going to be disappointed in whoever we got. But he was a Premier League manager. We thought, okay, we'll give him a chance. And the first 3 games we won. We were top of the league, went into international break, and then came back and just away to Arsenal. We got absolutely demolished. Chelsea at home, and then finally Man United, which I think at that point, no one could really see a future. So I think, most Spurs fans were, disappointed for him as a person. It wasn't his fault. He was thrown into a pretty difficult situation, but he just wasn't right for Tottenham, that's for sure.
I remember, I remember following that whole managerial thing over our winter, the UK summer, and it was crazy, wasn't it? First of all, it was like Fonseca, who was also linked with Newcastle, and then it was Gattuso, and then Conte was in the mix at one point as well. And
there's about a week of Pochettino rumors saying that he's coming back, and it was just bizarre.
What's your kind of take on, because it's less than 3 years since Spurs were in the Champions League final. So, I mean, I've heard people say that that was kind of a lucky Champions League run, or the cracks were already there when that Champions League run was happening. And, there were signs there that Pochettino's kind of magic was starting to wear off a little bit, which was maybe covered up by that run. Do you kind of subscribe to that, Tommy? And what do you sort of think has happened in the last 3 years since then?
Yeah, I think that the cracks were definitely already showing. If you look at our Premier League form that season, we didn't win an away game for about 6 months, even longer maybe. From January onwards that season, we were awful in the league. Somehow we scraped through against Man City, just incredible game. Ajax even more incredible. So the Champions League was just, there was a little bit of luck to it for sure, the way it happened with VAR. And I think any Spurs fan at that point could have seen, maybe not as bad as it got, but definitely saw issues coming. And I think that was all from just literally no activity in the transfer window. Just it caught up with us, basically. We needed to refresh the team as much as anything.
Moussa Sissoko can't do it all on his own, can he?
I think you need about 50 of him to do anything.
The good thing is with the Champions League, it's all on TV, so you're going to get the best out of Moussa when he's playing, So he always played up for the cameras.
To be fair, he was absolutely awful in the first maybe 2 seasons, but that season he did come good. I think he was actually useful, at least relatively.
Good to hear. So when Conte arrived at the club, it was only a short spell between Santos not being there and then Conte coming in. I think it was a few days, maybe something like maybe a week at best. So this was obviously something that the board had talked about bringing in way before Santos was relieved of his duties. And Conte, as Jack mentioned, was actually linked with Newcastle when Steve Bruce was given the boot finally. And it was a coach that I think we would have all loved to have seen in Newcastle. Maybe he didn't want the challenge. I think that's why he wants a ready-made team. I think that was a quote that he came out and said. Do you think he walked into a ready-made team at Spurs?
Absolutely not. No, we're far from that. And I think he likes the middle ground as opposed to ready-made versus maybe where Newcastle are. No disrespect. Where Spurs are, I think, right in his just enough improvement to make a huge difference without needing too much work. So I think he suits where we are perfectly. And I mean, we were just over the moon, still are, that we got a manager of his caliber. Just, incredible.
I guess when you've had
your manager of choice.
Yeah, I think thinking back to the summer, actually, he was linked in the summer and we went for him, and Paratici, the sporting director, wanted him, and we were turned down at that point. And I think most Spurs fans probably thought, it's probably better off because inevitably he and Levy will clash. He wants money and he wants to improve the team. Levy seemingly doesn't want to do that. So I think in the summer, most Spurs fans sort of accepted it. But as soon as Nuno failed, he was the only option.
Is there a problem with the stadium at Spurs? Because the amount of money that costs to build and the amount of finance that's taken, has that kind of taken away from investment in the first team over the last 4 or 5 years?
I think it definitely has to have an effect, but I think it's an overblown one. I think Pochettino, the work that he did with the players that he had was just truly incredible. And I think Levy got kind of complacent, I guess, with it. And he thought, okay, maybe we can buy cheap and just develop. I think, the last two or three seasons have proven that's not possible. But I don't think it's all down to the stadium.
I remember going back a few years now, Spurs were always, because when Mike Ashley took over Newcastle, which was when was that? 2000
14 years ago.
Yeah, so it was, I can't even remember
2008?
now. 2009 or something. Yeah, 2008. So Newcastle and Spurs were more or less level at that point in terms of commercial output and league positions and everything. But then I remember, obviously, we fell well behind over that period of time, and the work Daniel Levy's done commercially has been fantastic. But Spurs had this model of signing players like, for example, Michael Carrick and Berbatov, and then Gareth Bale is another big example. So they signed players who they then sold on for big money, and then they seem to, by and large, reinvest that money wisely. Although I know when they sold Bale, they went and signed about 5 players, mostly who flopped. But of the kind of, because they've become kind of more of an elite sort of, well, you don't like this word, but they were involved in the Super League sort of breakaway thing, They're kind of like an elite club now, commercially. So have they kind of gone away from that model towards more of a big commercial sort of business, do you think?
Definitely. I think that's always been Levy's plan as well. He's building the club up to sell for sure. And, if he takes as long, wins some stuff on the way, then great. So far, that hasn't happened. I think thinking back to, you're totally correct. Bale, Carrick, Modric, even all of those players, bought cheap, sold high. I think that would have continued had Pochettino not come in. I think Dele Alli, if he had risen as quickly as he did, there's no way he would have stayed at Tottenham without Pochettino and how well we did. Same with Harry Kane. I think the fact that didn't happen was just a byproduct of our relative success.
And there was that one season, wasn't there, when Leicester won the league, where Spurs were pretty close. I think Spurs finished second that season. Yeah, was that so that was 2016. So was that the season? Was that the opportunity? And then it hasn't quite been as close since then.
It's funny. That season is probably the one that most Spurs fans would remember, and it was a bit of heartbreak, especially the last day of the season. Played Newcastle away and lost 5-1. That was the Musa Sissoko day. And we finished third in a 2-horse race, as Arsenal fans often remind us.
Yeah.
But it was actually the next season that we got closer, I think, when Chelsea won it. I think we lost 2 or 3 games. Maybe we had the most goals for, the least goals against. That felt like the season where we really let a chance slip. And it was probably only because Chelsea weren't in European competition that season. They had Conte, funnily enough. They didn't have the distraction, and they somehow bettered our points tally of 87 or so, which was, incredible for Tottenham. So that felt like the season that we really should have won it.
Yeah, Spurs had a fantastic team. They had a fantastic team, didn't they, at that time?
Yeah, we really did.
Do you see those days coming back to Spurs anytime soon? If you can keep a hold of Harry Kane?
Yeah, I think that's the key thing this year is getting fourth, keeping Conte first. And if Conte stays, Kane will stay for sure. I think that's, if one of them goes, the other goes 100%. Can I see that coming back? Yes and no. I think you guys complicate things dramatically for us. Yeah. Looking at West Ham, if they continue, I mean, that 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th is its own mini league now. So it's super competitive and so difficult to sneak in. Even if we do sneak in this season, there's no guarantee, obviously, that we do it next season. So I think for the next 4 or 5 years, unless Conte can really have some immediate success next year, it's going to be tough.
All of these clubs who are kind of, because Newcastle are in that now, or they will be, kind of vying for those top positions, we hope they will be. It's going to take good management, isn't it? I mean, look at Man United. They've got all the money in the world, and they've been mismanaged ever since Alex Ferguson left. So it really is going to take, and it takes the club to be kind of joined up thinking and everyone pulling in the same direction, doesn't it? Really, for those clubs to have a chance of getting in the Champions League and staying in there, and then competing for titles.
Absolutely, and I think the other thing that I always mention with people that I know is just European. Being in the Europa League or the Conference League is just such a negative for me. It's just, you're playing so many games, Thursday nights, traveling all over Europe, and then you've got to back that up on the Sunday. it makes it super difficult. And it's not that much difference to the Champions League in terms of schedule, but I think just the prestige, it's building yourself up for those matches, the come down afterwards, it has a really dramatic effect. And I think Newcastle next season, presumably with that, or you won't have European football, will you? With the money, potentially players, you've got as good a chance as anyone, I think, to sneak in. And that's the part that I would actually, obviously it sounds a little stupid, but Spurs finishing 9th or 10th this year wouldn't be a bad thing for then Conte to really go at it next year. And I think with the right signings, we could probably challenge for the title, as crazy as that might sound.
Really, yeah. Yeah. How much would it take to get Harry Kane? Not for Newcastle. I know Man City. He had 3 years left on his contract, didn't he, last summer when Man City, I don't even know if they made a proper bid in the end, but he's only got 2 years left now. So, but everyone knows what Daniel Levy's like negotiating.
That's right. I think, again, it would very much depend on what Conte does. I think if Conte stays, Kane won't go, and he'll probably sign a 1-year extension with the release clause, I think. If Conte does go, if we don't make Champions League, then I would say 80 million probably would get him at this point.
We can afford that, can't we, Jack? 80 million?
I think
really?
We'll find that down the back of the sofa, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. That'd be fairly straightforward for us. That's a signing on fee for him, no problem.
Absolutely.
But let's move on to the game then. So first thing we'll do is just go on to the league table just to show where both teams are sat at right now. So Spurs sitting pretty up in 5th, just behind Arsenal, who have a game in hand. So you've got 51 points, Arsenal on 54 for that, vying for that 4th Champions League spot. That obviously Champions League spot comes with lucrative amounts of money compared to what the Europa League offers these days. And the money in that it's incredible. That's where every club wants to be. It's where every club needs to be if it wants to be successful. We can only hope to get up to that position this time next year, Jack. It will be something that is out of our wildest dreams, just to even be up there again. So if you were to finish the season as it is now, Tommy, would you be happy with a 5th place finish?
That's a very good question. I would say right now, no, probably not. I think we should have done better over the last 2 months. We should be above Arsenal. If you look at our fixtures, the games we've lost, some of them recently have been very disappointing. Burnley away sticks out immediately. But being realistic, going back to the start of the season, I think 5th would probably be about where most Spurs fans thought we were overall.
Ask her the same question, Jack.
What if we finished 14th?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you looked at the league table a few months ago, and we do this all the time on this pod. We looked odds on to get relegated, and I think we were one of the favourites to get relegated. So, it's funny the way in football expectations can change. So we went on that unbeaten run of 9 games, and we're now 9 points clear of relegation. And then we've lost 2 games, and people kind of lose their heads a little bit and start getting a bit angry when we lose games. It's just the way football fans are, I guess, But honestly, I just think we need to finish 17th or above. And I think we've given ourselves. I mean, if we went down now, it would be a catastrophe, and it would take a longer losing run than the unbeaten run we've just been on, I think, for us to go down. So I think if we can finish about 14th, there's 9 games left. I think we probably only need another 7 or 8 points out of those to confirm safety. And literally, that's all that matters for us this season. So that's what the owners said. That's what Eddie Howe knew when he came in. So I would be absolutely over the moon with 14th, and then we can build for next season.
Do you guys feel safe now? Do you go into a match this weekend thinking, we don't have to win it, it's all right? Or do you feel the pressure still?
So there was a period of time a few months ago where every game was like a must-win game, and we were doing the pods of the reviews and the previews, and we were like, this is like the biggest game in the last 10 years. This is the biggest game in the last 15 years, blah, blah, blah. So because of that run we went on, for me, the big one was beating Brentford, because that got us above them and above Leeds and Everton. And that kind of got us away from that feeling of we have to win every game or we have to get something from every game. So, I mean, it would be nice to get something this weekend, but it's definitely not it wouldn't be catastrophic if we don't, you know. And I don't think we're necessarily expecting something. So yeah, it's it's Newcastle, so you can never say that we are safe because anything can happen, and it's football as well. And I think Eddie Howe knows that as well as everybody, which is why he's trying to keep things calm when we win and to not get too despondent when we lose. But it would be a big shock for me if we got relegated now. Craig probably agrees with that.
100%, yeah. I think we've done enough now to not necessarily cruise to the end of the season, but to just relax a little bit and enjoy what we're going to be doing rather than starting the first whistle of every game thinking, oh no, this is going to be an absolute shit show where we're going to be annihilated 3-4-0, where we're actually playing some decent, attractive football. And we're thinking, you know, come 90th minute, we could come away with the 3 points. Like at Chelsea, we were ridiculously unlucky there. I don't know if you've seen the referee decision on anything, that Tommy, with a penalty, with the potential red card with the elbow. Very contentious on that one. We are showing signs of improving, and we're doing it over a rapid rate as well, considering how bad we were at one point. We were the worst informed team in the entire football league, I think, at one point, which says everything. But if you were to tell me coming into game week 30 that you would be sat in 14th place, and if you win your next game, you could potentially go up to 12th, I wouldn't believe you. That's going to wake me up and get me out of dreamland, you know?
Tommy, you probably remember the last time Newcastle played Spurs, which was the takeover day. So it was all that emotion in the stadium. And then
I was going to bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah. They gave Steve Bruce, they very kindly gave Steve Bruce his 1000th game in management. But that team was an absolute shambles. You know, we came out the traps, we scored the goal, and then the rest of it, Nuno's team absolutely tore us apart, didn't they?
Yeah, well, it's truly bizarre. I mean, going into the match, Spurs fans, we're thinking, as you know, all football fans do, you know, why it has to be Spurs coming up against Newcastle just after they've been taken over. The atmosphere in the ground was just incredible. And then you can see, literally, I think it was 30 seconds or so. Like, it was just an absolute nightmare for us. I watched thinking, man, I might just turn this off. There's no point. But then, yeah, you just completely capitulated. It felt like, you know, that was in the start of Nuno's end as well. Yeah. So it was very easy for us in the end, I felt. And yeah, at that point, it didn't look good for Newcastle. That's for sure. Even later than that, it didn't look good. So you've turned around amazingly well. And just on the table, I look at that and think, if I'm Eddie Howe, I'm telling my players, we're 2 wins off 9th. It's crazy. That's how I'd be approaching the season, the end of the season, as a Newcastle, at least involved. I understand from fans it's different, but
Eddie Howe's very big on, we'll just take the next game. You know, take the next game. Try not to look at the league table even. And that's probably the approach that we need at this point. I think that game, the last game, was absolutely comical. Like you said, Newcastle just ran out of steam after about 5 minutes, and then Spurs completely controlled the game. And then the scoreline at the end didn't actually reflect Spurs' dominance because Eric Dyer scored a funny own goal.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. We started the game shitting ourselves, and then we ended it probably even worse. We thought, oh no, they're going to equalise. 3-3, typical Spurs.
I didn't realise Spurs had actually won 4 out of the last 5 games, though. That's pretty good form.
The rhetoric in the media has been how bad we've been doing. You know, you chuck in the Middlesbrough FA Cup game where we, I think, win, loss. But in the league, we've been doing very well. And that loss was only Man United away, where we actually should have won. We played really well.
Of those teams down the bottom, Tommy, who's your 3 to go down?
I think Everton were in trouble until they beat you guys. That was, a bit disappointed they won that, actually. That was the last game, yeah? That was their W. They beat Newcastle,
correct,
yeah? Yes, so I feel like they may get out. I think Watford who knows what they'll do. I think they could survive. I think Burnley and Norwich are probably as good as gone. So I'd say, out of Brentford, Leeds and Everton and Watford to join them.
We were cursing Spurs when Burnley beat Spurs, weren't we, Craig?
We were raging in the chat, weren't we? How can you unbeat Man City at the Etihad, then go and lose against Burnley? It's literally you've got two sides of a coin there. We were like, oh yeah, they've got everything beat Man City at the Etihad. They're going to walk all over Burnley, and we were raging. We were absolutely devastated. We thought, that was the game that's going to basically cement our safety and almost guarantee Burnley for relegation. But no, they have to go and lose it. So thanks, mate.
If you were raging, imagine what we were like. As you say, like that's just totally Spursy, as we all call it, Dr. Tottenham. It's just, infuriating.
With you sat in fifth there, obviously Arsenal have that game in hand for that Champions League spot. Getting 3 points against us at the weekend is going to be a huge priority to keep the pressure on, because you'll want that Champions League place. That's a given. The rivalry between yourselves and Arsenal, obviously Arsenal have had the more successful few seasons, or with Premier League medals and FA Cups and everything like that. Finishing above Arsenal, is that just something that you can just rub into the salt of the wounds or everything, because they've been above you pretty much all the season, I believe?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is important. I think more so this season, because it's all that both of us have to really play for. It's pretty depressing that's our goal is to finish above Arsenal. I wish we were fighting for a bit more than that, but yeah, I think it is huge. But more than that is obviously because the team that finishes above the other will likely finish in the Champions League. I think it's between us and Arsenal. But I haven't given up. Their game in hand is Chelsea away. If we beat Newcastle 2-0, we actually go above Arsenal on goal difference. Before they play against Palace away on Monday night, which is going to be very difficult. Palace away night game. I think they could drop points there. So yeah, 3 points this weekend is an absolute must for us, just as you say, to keep the pressure on. And yeah, we all hate Arsenal, that's for sure.
There is a North London derby coming up, isn't there?
That's right. Yes, the odd one where they called for a postponement because they had one COVID case in their squad and ran scared.
Newcastle got a lot of stick for calling games off around that time, but I remember Arsenal had COVID cases, and then they let two players go out on loan.
Exactly.
And then they were still allowed to cancel games.
Yeah. They had one case, they sold two players, let two of them go on loan, and then they postponed the game with us. It's just, But they've always got away because David Dean at the FA, he lets them get away with murder.
So getting to the game on Sunday. Now, I think we've only played 3 games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We've won 1, lost 1, drew 1. The 1-0 win was, I think it was Joe Linton's first ever goal for Newcastle, Jack. He got that goal, I think it was just before the half an hour mark, which I remember that goal, watching it live, and I'm thinking, did he mean to do that? Did he scuff the shot? Did he mean to place it where it was? Because he's not a natural finisher, as we've seen from Joe Linton just this season alone. He's the only person that can defend his own shot. Which that was absolutely comical. That was genuinely brilliant. And since then, from that game on, he never hit the ground running. He was played out of position. He was never a natural striker, as I think the world knew, to be honest, apart from Steve Bruce. He was the only one that thought he was, even giving him the number 9 shirt, which I thought was quite laughable. And then Eddie Howe comes in, transforms the lad, and he's probably our most consistent player since that Brentford game when Eddie first took charge. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah, that goal against Spurs in that game, that would have been August 2018. No, 2019. Yeah, so it was Steve Bruce's first season as well. And Spurs were quite disappointing that day. And Joe Linton, obviously, we hoped that he would kick on from that because it was a really nice goal. But yeah, he's been. I don't know how much you've kind of seen, Tommy, about Joe Linton or heard about him, but he's been colossal.
He's a midfielder now, isn't he?
He is. He's a box-to-box destructive midfielder, and all of the stats back that up actually. And it's quite amazing what's happened to him.
I saw him pop up. And I was like, "Is that the same Joe Linton?" That's surely not. Yeah.
Same comedy figure for the last 2 years has turned into a proper. But it just shows you what you were talking before about Pochettino and the coaching he did with players, and it just shows you the what a good coach can do with players. Find a new position or get some good coaching into them, and they can become real assets.
Absolutely. On that, can I ask you guys, how do you feel about Eddie Howe? For me, as an outsider, I feel like he's a stopgap for you.
I'll go first on that one. He probably wouldn't have been my first choice as manager, but he certainly wouldn't have been the last. I think before the takeover, I would have taken Eddie Howe, not a problem at all, because I think anyone would have been an upgrade over Steve Bruce. If Bruce had gone in the summer and Howe came in, would have been perfect. Great appointment for the job. He would probably do a cracking job in terms of improving where Bruce left off, but that wouldn't be too hard to do, to be honest. And when the takeover happened, Bruce got sacked. There was all these rumours of the managers that was in talk. Unai Emery was the man who was apparently supposed to come in, but that got leaked to the media far too quick, and his club didn't like the way it was publicised, I believe. And he then made a U-turn and said he's staying. But apparently our chairman, I'll try and pronounce his name, Al Rumian, I think it is. I probably got that totally wrong. He wanted Howe from day one, apparently, according to Amanda Staveley. And I must say he's been an absolute breath of fresh air. I cannot fault a single thing the man has done. He's been superb. And as Jack will tell you, he wrote an article, Arise, King Eddie. And everything, and that was superb.
I can talk about Eddie Howe all day. I won't, because I've done it on this pod before, but you can tell by my shirt how I feel about Eddie Howe. When I was a bit concerned when he came in, I worried about whether he had the force of character and kind of the gravitas to take the job on. But then he gave his first interview, his first press conference, and he was so kind of balanced and measured and calm. And he came across very well. He said all the right things. He's extremely hardworking. So I think he did have credit in the bank immediately, just for not being Steve Bruce, like what Craig said. But it's interesting what you've said about the stopgap thing, because it's a little bit like when Mark Hughes was at Man City when they had the takeover, and I can see that kind of point of view. And I thought initially maybe that is what he was there for, is to try and see us through this period, keep us up, and then keep us not taking over, but get us progressing for a few years, and then to be replaced by somebody brighter and bigger and with a bigger name and a bigger ego. But I think he's kind of shot that down already just by the work he's done. We had the Newcastle official club photographer on the pod last week. She's Australian. She's from Bendigo. And she was talking about some of the small cultural things he's done to change the culture, and the way he's got the whole club behind him. And I think he's a perfect match at this point in time for Newcastle, because of his calm, balanced nature, and also his quality as a coach. He's managed to turn this team around from staring relegation in the face to looking towards mid-table. With he's had a transfer window and he's been able to bring players in, but he's picked a lot of those players himself. Kieran Trippier is somebody we can probably talk about. he picked Kieran Trippier, and he has been. He's probably going to be one of the most important signings Newcastle have made in their recent history, because it was signing a La Liga winner from the Spanish champions and an England international. And it's I think it's probably showed other players like maybe Bruno Guimaraes and other players of that ilk that Newcastle is a team worth joining, So Kieran Trippier, then tell us about Kieran Trippier. We're going off a little bit here, but yeah, Kieran Trippier at Spurs.
Yeah, I don't think any Spurs fan would have anything bad to say about him. He was just super consistent for us as a backup to Kyle Walker. He was always kind of limited because how good Kyle Walker was. Trippier is actually, in his last season, very good, just injured a lot, and he didn't end well with the chairman. Apparently he kind of got forced out, and he was asked to play when he was injured and things like that. So, I mean, we would love him right now as a crosser. He'd be perfect for us in our team. He's the balls that he can whip in. But yeah, I think every Spurs fan remembers him fondly, even though he wasn't quite as glamorous as some of the other players in that era.
Yeah, it's his character that has really stood out for Newcastle. He's only played 4 or 5 games, and he got injured, and he scored two. He scored 2 free kicks, which is obviously good at free kicks.
Yeah,
but
he scored the one in the semi-final too, didn't he? Was it the semi?
Yeah, for England. Yeah, World
Yeah.
Cup semi in 2018. So he's obviously what he's good at. But there was a game where he against Everton where he managed the game, and it was unbelievable to see a right back have that impact on the game and the game management. And I've never seen it from kind of a right back before. So it's his character as well that's kind of impressed as much as anything.
Yeah, I think he grew up a lot in that last season at Tottenham. I think Pochettino helped him. And then just the experiences of, the World Cup, being pretty poorly treated by Spurs and then going to win the league in Spain the next year. I think he's exactly what you needed.
I'm enjoying this pod, Craig. We're talking about Eddie Howe and Kieran Trippier.
I know. Eddie Howe, Kieran, it's the perfect pod, isn't it? It really is. But I'm just going to move on to the next slide now. So this one here is just touching on a bit of an Australian theme. It is home and away. So this is based on Spurs' home form in the league and Newcastle's away form in the league. So looking at that, from what I can instantly see is Spurs don't draw many games this season. I think they've only drawn 3. So it's you like to pick up those odd draws because it's those odd one-pointers every now and again that just creep you up the table every now. In your favour, at least anyway. However, the amount of draws for us, we were effectively at one point the draw specialist at some point through the season. We would either concede late goals or we would somehow scrape a very late goal, getting the point there. I think Man United we conceded late. I think it was Watford we conceded late as well, where Jamal Lascelles, who's 6'2", got outjumped by a midget somehow, and that was a terrible game, that one. And our away form, as you can see, we've won 3, drawn 4, lost 8, scored 12, conceded 24, and we've taken 13 from 45 points. For where we are in the table, that is pretty much bang on average. It's not great, but it's not exactly terrible either compared to some of the other teams. In your home form, Tommy, it's actually quite decent. And you're not conceding many. Lost 4 games, though. Would you say that is the big concern as to why you sat in 5th right now?
Yeah, I think back to those 4 we lost. One of them was Chelsea, Man United, both of those under Nuno. I'm trying to think who the other 2. Can't off the top of my head.
Southampton and Wolves, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah,
a month
of course.
Ago. Yeah.
Exactly. Those 2 are gutting. I think you're totally correct in our draws have held us back. Obviously, not so much at home. You don't want to be drawing too many at home. But the biggest issue for me is the goals for. With you, you've got Son, Kane up front, and you're only scoring 26 goals at home in 14 matches. It's not even 2 per game, I think. And that includes the recent 5-0 win over Everton. I think we should be well over 30 goals at home. Which, although may not win us many more games, just it creates that feeling that we've got that fortress back at White Hart Lane, which we haven't really established yet at the new stadium.
What's your take on our away form there, Jack? Well, it's obviously picked up a lot over the last few months. I think we shouldn't have lost to Chelsea as well, so that should have been another draw or even a win. I just find it. I'm a Newcastle fan, so I just find it incredible when we win any away game. Before I moved to Australia, I'd been somewhere in the region of 40 or 50 away games, and I think I saw us win 2 in that time. So, when we win any away game, it's a cause for big celebration. But yeah, you kind of expect a team of our standing to have. It's pretty good that we've not lost almost as many as we have lost now, because beforehand that was. We would lose. You would just turn up and just expect to lose 2-0 every away game, and that's pretty much what happened. So, the away form has picked up a lot. I would be happy with the draw of this game against Spurs. Speaking of the game, one thing I'm looking forward to, in yourself as well, probably Jack, is this game on Monday morning could be the first time we see Alan Shearer and Bruno play a full 90 minutes together. Does that excite you? It does. You need some excitement when it's 1:30 on a Monday morning and you're watching a football match. Tommy said that he watches every game as well. So those Sunday night Monday morning games are horrible.
It's just brutal.
Yeah, it is brutal. Yeah, but yeah, so Saint-Maximin should be fit. He's a person who kind of he's a player who splits opinion a little bit. He's a maverick player. He does things his own way, which is good sometimes, but which can cause problems other times. If he can put the work in, he could be a brilliant player because he's got all this talent in the world. He's a bit like Ben Arthur in that sense that we used to have. But it's always exciting when he's on the pitch. You never know what he's going to do. I think the other alternative would be Jacob Murphy, who he works hard and he's done a decent job, but he's pretty limited. And I always just think for defenders to be defending against Saint-Maximin, he doesn't know what he's going to do himself. So how do they know what he's going to do? So he must be really hard to play against. Sometimes he just goes missing for big chunks of games, and then he'll go and dribble through the whole team and score a wonder goal, So I think he's always good to have in the team.
Yeah, give me the choice of Murphy or him. I'll take Murphy any day.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure
play against.
I'm pretty sure Regulion or whoever's playing at fullback would agree with that as well.
Absolutely, yeah, that's our weakest point. So, 100%.
It's those two. I would probably say are going to be our key danger men, and I think we're probably going to play counter-attacking football. I think that's probably going to best suit our style down at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. In terms of danger men for yourself, Tommy, I think it goes without saying Harry Kane, Song, and I'll try and pronounce his name again. Kulusevski.
Yeah.
Not Patrick.
Yeah, about 90% there. He seemed to hit the ground running when he's came in from, I think it was a £10 million loan from Juve. Is that correct?
Yeah, something like that. It's a bit of a weird deal where we've got him for 18 months and we can sign him for 30 more million if we want him. He's been absolutely quality. Just the way he settled in. He's such a different kind of player to Son and Kane. He's very slow. He's similar to Kane, I guess. But if you watch him, he's just extremely slow. But he's got such close control. He drags the defense out. He's always sitting very wide, which just leaves so much space for Son and Kane to roam around in. But I think our biggest player right now is Bentancur in midfield. He's made such a difference, just keeping us solid in the midfield, where we used to get overrun with Winks last season. Sissoko played. We just haven't had a proper midfielder since Dembele left, and he's definitely the closest we've got to one. He's just absolutely brilliant since he came in.
It felt like a bit of a last-minute kind of raid on Juventus because it was like Diaz went to Liverpool, didn't he? So it was like, who can we get? And then signed these two players from Juventus who Paratici obviously used to work for.
Yep.
So it's turned out quite well so far.
Absolutely. I think most Spurs fans saw it that way. Yeah, so the bargain basement again from Levy. But no, I think there was a plan. I think Diaz was obviously number one. And if that fell through, we had Kulusevski as backup. And I think, Diaz is no doubt a good player. But I think Kulusevski suits us more. I think his attitude and working for Conte, I think he suits us very well.
It's going to be an interesting game. Again, we're going to move on to the formations now. We're going to start with yourself, Tommy, being the home team. I'll let you break down the team there if you want.
Yeah, it pretty much picks itself at the moment. The big question is Davies, left centre back. He got injured or he didn't play for Wales, I think, the other day. So if he doesn't start, that's a bit of a problem. He's not the best player in the world, but he's solid, and we don't have another left-footer to slot in there. The wing-backs are such a huge part of Conte's system, but really just been lacking for us. Doherty is one of my friends describes him as a blunt object of a football player. He's just he's the best worst footballer I've ever seen, and you'll probably see a bit of him in action on the weekend. But yeah, really, it's all about the front three for us. If we can get them breaking quickly, as you say, you'll be playing on the counter-attack, so it's all about how we can exploit you on the break as well. I think that's where it really lies, who will win. And Kane, it could very well be a draw.
Kane's in there as a striker, obviously, but he doesn't play as a striker these days, does he?
He's very much like an attacking midfielder, especially with Sonny running in behind him. He's just the most all-round player I think I've ever seen, definitely at Spurs. He's up there with the best ever in the Premier League for sure. He gets a lot of stick. It's really funny as a Spurs fan, the amount of crap that he gets when he goes on a run of not scoring or whatever. He's a freak. He's just insane. If you watch him, the performance against Man City was, you had people saying it's literally the best ever performance in the Premier League, which is probably a bit far, but it wasn't far off.
It's really interesting you say that about the fans get on his back when he doesn't play well. He scored 178 Premier League goals for Spurs.
I should clarify, I mean opposition fans as well.
As
much as Spurs fans. It's funny. He gets so much stick for someone of his quality. It's just weird. And
it comes with the territory of being England captain, I guess, as well.
Absolutely.
In the Euros, he was getting all sorts of grief, and then he maybe didn't look fit. He looked slow. He was kind of coming in, but his quality is just outstanding, isn't it? How many players can go from being a striker to playing in that withdrawn role and still be just as good at that?
Absolutely. You doubt him, he'll make a fool of you. And that's what he feeds off. He loves that. He loves people doubting him and telling him he's crap. That's what his whole career's been built on. He's not the best player, technique or whatever. He wasn't, at least. And just through sheer hard work, he's got there. The other one that I'd point out quickly is Romero, who is just an absolute beast. He will literally find a player every match, line them up and say, "You're mine. I'm going to take you out at every opportunity," and does it somewhat legally most of the time. So I'm curious to see who he finds. Maybe Saint-Maximin would be his target this week.
Yeah, Saint-Maximin gets kicked by everybody anyway. So
exactly,
that's
most fouled man in the Premier League, apparently.
Yeah. So that could Romero, be a decent matchup.
Yeah, that's right. Romero is absolute quality. He's just exactly what we need. He's only 23, and he'll be one of the best defenders in the Premier League for years to come, I think.
Yeah, we'll move on to yours, Jack, and we'll see what lineup we've got for yourself.
Yeah. So Newcastle haven't had a game since for over 2 weeks since we played against Everton. Some of these players have been off on international duty now. Not many of them have been. But the defense picks itself as long as Shaw's fit. He didn't play for Switzerland and he got sent back to Newcastle. And also Dubravka, there was some kind of concern about him, but that seems like it was just a bit of a scare, and he's all right. So the defense picks itself. I would have Manquillo instead of Kraft. I've got a bit of a reputation for defending Kraft all the time on this podcast, but I don't think he's very good. He's not Premier League quality. So I would have Manquillo back in. I would actually like to see Dan Burn get the captaincy. I know Shaw had it in the last game, but it'd be nice for Dan Burn. All 6'7" of them. Probably the front three probably pick themselves if Saint-Maximin's fit. He's not been very well, so he hasn't started a game for about, I think, 4 or 5 games. He hasn't started, but he's came on off the bench in the last 2 and hasn't had that much impact. But the alternative is Murphy, so I would play Saint-Maximin from the start. Ryan Fraser's been one of the best players lately. Chris Wood picks himself because he's not Dwight Gale. So he's only scored 1 goal for us, but he hasn't been that good, probably, truth be told. He's come up against 3 defenders a lot of the time, which it looks like he will against Spurs again. So he's had a hard job to do, and he's done it as well as he can. But he's definitely a stopgap until the end of the season, and he's a big stopgap, and he's been doing all right for us. But probably the midfield's the area that is the most. There's probably the most decisions to make because Shelby's been injured and he's missed the last 2 games, and we've lost them both. I'm not Shelby's biggest fan at all. I think he has let himself down a lot previously with his discipline. And he's kind of been synonymous for me with the malaise of the Mike Ashley era. But I think Eddie Howe trusts him, and he's been a big part of our good run. And I think if he's fit, which it looks like he is, he should come back in. Joe Linton, you can't drop. He's been absolutely, we've talked about him already, monstrous in that position. And then that leaves either Bruno or Willock. Bruno has just played for Brazil last night. He scored a goal and he got an assist, and he's also pregnant apparently. So I hope he can play this game even though he's pregnant. But I've just been thinking about this today. For Newcastle United to have signed a starting Brazil international at the age of 24, I mean, we had Jeff Hendrick in midfield not too long ago, you know. So I think it's incredible, and I think Bruno is going to be. If things go the way we hope they will for Newcastle, I think he could be the kind of poster boy for our rise. I hope, because he's that good and he's such a quality midfielder. I would pick him for this game, but I've got a feeling because he's travelled. I think Eddie Howe might play Joe Willock instead. Former Arsenal, of course. So I wouldn't be necessarily averse to that. And he's scored a few goals lately, and he's been really good as well. So I think we'll definitely play this 4-3-3 formation. We have been better when we've ceded possession lately as well. So this game actually, in a strange way, might suit us better than what that Everton game did, where we had a lot of possession and didn't really do anything with it. And even the Southampton game to an extent, where we had a little bit more possession and we didn't play that well, even though we won. So this is how I would see us setting up. And I think Lascelles will come in for Shah if Shah's not fit, which is fine. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting matchup, and I think it'll be a very intriguing tactical battle.
I think you're right. I think the midfield is where it'll be won or lost. I think it's going to be key there. Just touching on Harry Kane, would any of you like to have a guess at how many goals Harry Kane has contributed to in the 14 times he's played Newcastle?
Contributed being goals and assists?
Correct.
Oh, I'd say 9.
Jack?
I'd say more than that. I would say 14.
14 and 14?
Yeah.
No, Tommy was closer. It was 10. So he scored 8 and assisted 2 in 14 appearances, which isn't too bad. It's pretty much prolific, to be honest. He is the one man that we have to look out for, obviously. He scored in the reverse fixture at St. James's, and he scored a cracking goal. I think he just placed it over, was it Darlow at the time, I think was in goal?
Yeah.
When everyone thought he was offside. Manquillo played him on. Cracking finish. So he's obviously their danger man. Our danger man. You're going to go for St. Maximan, Jack? If he starts?
If he starts and if he's on it, then yes. But I think if Bruno starts, I think the midfield. Like I said, I think the midfield is where the game will be won or lost. I think it's not so much for us about having a danger man as such. It's about the tactical battle and whether we can come out on top of that. Even if we're not having a lot of possession, if we can limit Spurs' chances. Do you remember the game? Oh, this was years ago now, but where Tim Krul played in goal for us.
Oh,
and
man.
Spurs had, I don't know if you remember that, Tommy.
Yeah.
Spurs had
goal.
Spurs had about 30 shots on target, and Krul was absolutely. It was the best individual goalkeeping performance I've seen. So, yeah, I don't think this game will be like that. I think we might be able to frustrate Spurs a little bit, but then they've always got the danger of having Kane and Son. I think Son is a fantastic player.
Brilliant player.
Yeah, he's just very streaky, so it's whether he's on or not, which he hasn't been lately. But then against West Ham, he scored 2 and, well, set up the other one, I think, from memory. So he could be getting back. It's dangerous, I think, for you guys. So
let's go for predictions now. Now, Tommy, again, you're the home team. You can go first. What's your score prediction?
I'm going to say 2-0.
Home win, obviously?
Yep, to Tottenham, sorry.
Yep. Jack?
I think it'll probably be quite low scoring. I think I'm gonna be positive, and I think it'll be 1-1. It'll be 1-1 or it'll be 1-0 to Spurs. I don't think there'll be many goals.
I'm going to go for a draw.
1-1.
Yep. A score draw. I'm going to go for 2-2, actually. It'll be a rare draw for Spurs, but quite a common one for us so far this season. Glad you take a point down there. Not a problem at all. That would be a well-earned point, personally. So that wraps up the one.
Just want a bit of payback for the penalty last year. It's still in my mind for Dyer.
Eric Dyer's handball.
Yeah.
That was dog shit, that, to be honest. That really was one of the worst handball penalties you will ever see. So I feel your pain on that one.
It was one of those absolutely horrible games as well, where we really didn't deserve it. And it was right at the end.
It was literally like 93rd minute. Yeah,
It was
haven't got over it.
it was a seafood special. Get Andy Carroll on and just kick the ball towards him, and that's what happened. And yeah,
it worked. We got a point. We needed it.
We didn't deserve it.
So that wraps up the Spurs preview. Again, it is a 4:30 UK kickoff this Sunday afternoon in the UK, and a 1:30 a.m. Monday morning for us here in Queensland. Wherever you are going to be watching the world, whether you're a Newcastle fan, good luck to us. If you're a Spurs fan, hope you lose. 3 points to Eddie and his mighty mags is what we all want. Wherever you're watching the world, hopefully it's a cracking game, and Eddie can bring home the bacon and get 3 points on the bag, and we start climbing that table. But now we're going to have a little bit of fun. So this is something that it's never really died away, but it's something that has come back into hot topic with Harry Kane taking over Henry's place in the Premier League all-time goal scoring tables. So what we're going to know is a little debate on who we think is going to be the all-time Premier League's top goal scorer, with a slight comparison between, yep, you guessed it, Harry Kane and Alan Shearer. So I'll let you go first, Jack, and what you think of those stats at that stage of their Premier League career.
Right. So what this is saying is that it took Shearer 250 games to get to 175 goals, and it's taken Kane 270 games to get to 175 goals. That's right, isn't it?
Correct.
Shearer got 260 Premier League goals in total, and Kane's now on 178, I think. So he's still got, 82 to go. That feels like quite a big ask. Harry Kane's 29, 30 now, isn't he? Is he 30 yet?
28, turning 29 around July, I think.
Turning 29. So there's a lot of factors that are going to go into this. Mainly whether he stays with Spurs, I suppose. If he goes to Man City, it's probably game over. You'll just stand on the 6-yard box scoring 8 goals every game, won't you? So he'll probably beat it next season if he does that. It probably depends on his injuries as well. He doesn't seem to have massive periods out injured. I hope he doesn't get it quite a lot, because I like Alan Shearer having that record. We can't forget that Shearer also missed 2 full seasons through injury. But then he missed parts of other seasons as well. Not just injuries, serious injuries. He had knee ligament injuries. But he carried on playing until he was kind of 35, by which time he could barely walk, but he could still take a good penalty. So that helped his stats a little bit. So yeah, I hope Harry Kane doesn't reach it, unless he signs for Newcastle, of course, in which case I hope he does reach it. But it's just really hard to say. Like, they're both absolutely outrageous strikers, you know. And they've both done is adapted their game. So Shearer ended up having Craig Bellamy around him when he was older to do his running for him, and he had crosses coming in from Solano and Laurent Robert to just stand on the end of and score. Kane's adapted his game, and he's more of a creator now as well, and he's got Son there alongside him. So yeah, it depends on what Kane does. Records are there to be broken, though, aren't they? You know, and I'm sure Shearer will be the most magnanimous person if Kane does beat that record, because he recognises what a good striker he is.
Do you think he'll break the record? Yes or no, Jack?
88 goals. I think he will.
And your views on that, Tommy, as well?
Yeah, I mean, you think that's probably 4-5 seasons golden boot level to catch it? That's a tough ask, I think, even as good as Harry Kane is, especially as he's dropping off and, as you say, become more of a creator. He hasn't got the pace. Yeah, I'm not too sure if he will do it. Yeah, if he goes to Man City, which I don't think he will now, then definitely very good chance. But having said that, maybe he's got a better chance at Tottenham because there's less competition for goals in our team. You know, will he play every week and score every goal for City like he does at Tottenham? I'm not sure.
Yes, something Shearer did actually as well. I've just thought was Shearer retired from international duty when he was 29. He retired after Euro 2000. So, and he did that specifically to prolong his club career. Harry Kane has he already broken the England goal scoring record? I think he has, hasn't he? Or
he scored his 49th last night. Or
yeah,
he
beat Bobby Charlton or equaled him or something. So he's probably got another. He's got the World Cup. He might have 2 more World Cups in him, plus another Euros, plus all those qualifications. So if he stays playing for England, that could make it harder for him in a way to catch the record because he could pick up more injuries. But that was very much to Newcastle's advantage when Shearer retired when he was only 29, and not to England's advantage because Shearer had scored 30 goals for them.
I think that's a good point. I think the other point that I'd make about Kane is he's so desperate to win a trophy that I think he carries that weight on his shoulders to his detriment. I think if he was to win something with Spurs in the next season, we won a League Cup, FA Cup, whatever it is, I actually think that would ease the pressure, and he would then just go hell for leather for this record.
It's crazy, isn't it, to think that both of these players, they've got one club trophy between them. They've got one Premier League, and
that's what I hate about that thing about Tottenham not winning anything. Is how many crap players have won stuff. And how many good players have not? Obviously it'd be nice, but far out, we don't hear about it.
Yeah.
Yes or no from yourself, Tommy? Will Harry Kane break Alan Shearer's Premier League record?
I'm going to say no. He'll get close, but he won't break it.
So the Spurs fan says no, the Newcastle fan says yes. I didn't think it'd be that way around.
It's probably just that pessimism, isn't it?
Exactly.
Caution of supporter. Yeah.
Exactly.
What about you, Craig? What do you think?
He doesn't.
What do you think, Craig?
I think he'll get close. I don't think he'll break it. I do think as naturally the older he gets, the more injury prone he will get. That happens with all good players, unless you name Ronaldo, who is just an absolute freak of nature. If he stays at Spurs, I think he's got a better chance of doing it again. If he goes anywhere else, whether it be Man United, which I don't think he will, Man City, doubtful, because apparently they already agreed to sign Haaland, I think. So that would be a big no on that one. Will he stay in the capital? Maybe go to Chelsea. They get the new owners. They might want to make a statement signing. That would be almost probably as bad as when Sol Campbell went to Arsenal, I'd imagine, if he signed for Chelsea. That could be a big one. Or you never know. He could even come to us in a year or so if he signs that contract extension. At Spurs, we sign him a year from now, whatever. We've got European football or Champions League to offer, and he comes and breaks a record for Newcastle in the number 9 shirt, then that's poetic, if you ask me. I'd love it.
The thing as well is, though, that Shearer says, and he gets laughed at for this by Man United fans who don't like him because he rejected them, but he just says he doesn't have any regrets about coming back to his hometown club and about becoming our top scorer, Like, he would have liked to have won a trophy with us, obviously. If he'd have gone to Man United, he would have won everything multiple times, and he probably would have had, he's got 260 goals. He could have had 400 really if he hadn't been injured. So it's all, I guess, what Harry Kane wants at the end of his career. Does he want to be an absolute all-time legend at Spurs, which he already is anyway, but it would be a big call for him to taint that by moving to Chelsea or something now, Maybe going overseas would be different, and then he obviously wouldn't get the record anyway, but overseas clubs probably can't afford him now anyway, so...
Yeah, I don't think he will go. He's just so got his heart set on this record that prevents him from moving overseas. And there's not many teams that can afford him. So I think Newcastle actually, funnily enough, would have a good chance, as you say, in a year or two, if Spurs continue to fall.
But players don't like moving north anyway, So if you listen to Gabiak Bonho, they don't like playing anywhere north of, was it the M25, whatever it may be?
North of the Watford Gap.
The Watford Gap. They don't want to go any further than that. So unless our manager at the time can convince what we done to Robley all those years ago when we told them Middlesbrough was further north than Newcastle. That's a true story, that as well, apparently. Kevin Keegan told that to Robley. But yeah, I would love Harry Kane in Newcastle in the number 9 shirt. I think every single Newcastle fan out there would. It's only dreams for us. Luckily, it's a reality for you lot. And, good luck for the game on Monday morning. I want to see us pick up 3 points. Don't think happen. I think we'll get a draw. I think Jack is the same. And you're going for a 2-0 home win yourself, Tommy?
Yep.
Well, let's see who's right. We'll have a little wager on that, and we'll have some comments on Twitter, over on social media. If you want to follow Tommy, by all means do so. His Twitter handle is TommySVR. Give him a follow. Give him a good shout out. You've been a fantastic sport joining us today. And we will put links to his Twitter handle and to his podcast when we post this live, which should be in a day or two, I think, over on YouTube. But massive thanks to everyone who's going to be watching. If you like what we've done today, please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. We also do these audio-only versions over on Apple Podcast and Spotify as well. So if you like the audio-only version, give those a listen too. That'd be absolutely fantastic if you could. But massive thanks for everyone joining us. And thank you, Jack, and thank you, Tommy.
Cheers. Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you very much. All the best for the weekend.
Cheers, you too.
Bye.
Cheers.